Okay, so we are live here again at the 5 Milton Edgewood Chamber of Commerce. We had some technical difficulties a minute ago where our sound stopped working, so we're gonna take two on this and try it again. So hopefully we'll do a little bit better this time. So and we'll see as soon as we start seeing people come online, we'll ask them if they can hear us or not. So we'll just go until we get someone and they can tell us whether or not we're working.
All right.
So we're going to start over again. I'm joined here by Elizabeth Thompson, who is our chamber member, board member, and government affairs committee chair.
Good afternoon.
And we're also joined by Phil Linden, who is running for City Council. Oh, good. Sounds great. Thank you, Noah. We started all over again. But we're joined by Phil Linden, running for City Council for the City of Milton. And thank you for joining us, Phil.
Sure. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Sure. And we're going to start with just some background on yourself. So tell us a little bit about you, your background, and why you decided to run.
Sure. So my name is Phil Linden, and right now I am a registered nurse at Auburn Medical Center. Formerly, I worked for Washington State University as an extension educator, and before that I worked for City of Shoreline as a recreational specialist. So I have a degree in nursing, and I also have a BA in outdoor recreation from EWU. I grew up in a town very similar to Milton, kind of a bedroom community. The big difference being Milton has fewer families compared to households, and I recognize the strength of owner families in Milton as being the backbone to a suburban community, and I'd like to strengthen that as much as possible. A year ago, I didn't have any intention of running, and I got concerned with some of the projects and the cut-through traffic that's happening in Milton, and I felt our town's a little bit under threat, and I want to make sure that it continues to move in the great direction. It's a great town. I love it. All my eggs in that basket, and I want to keep it wonderful.
Okay, so have you had any other opportunities of public service? And if so, tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So I was out of high school. I went to the United States Coast Guard, and then I moved out to Washington after that. So I've been a member of the Washington State 4-H board, the 4-H Foundation board, excuse me. A registered nurse. I've been on the National Ski Patrol. I'm a Red Cross disaster volunteer. I'm a Red Cross instructor, formerly. All my professional experience has been in the public sector, so either nonprofit hospitals, municipalities, or state universities.
So Phil, you've had a couple of other experiences with different towns that are maybe similar to Milton. I'm wondering what you feel are the best and strongest qualities of Milton, and how you think you'll be able to enhance those as part of the council.
Sure. So Milton is a true gem of the South Sound. You sit nice and high and overlook it. It's wonderful, and we have to be careful with the growth and development that's happening, that we don't lose Milton's small town charm. So a strong town identity, careful development, and strengthen our businesses and our homeowners to keep Milton moving in the right direction.
And then along those same lines, what are some of the opportunities that you see with the City of Milton right now? Where can they, what are their biggest areas of improvement and our biggest issues?
So one thing I do, I go out and talk to as many residents as I can. Almost every evening after work, out there trying to just meet people and campaign, and people are very concerned with overdevelopment and traffic. And so people are seeing their town, or potentially seeing their town, adversely affected by some of the local projects that may not fit their own personal ethos and what they see for Milton. So I just want to make sure that council, as a member of council, I'm in line with the residents.
Okay.
Phil, what is your idea with regard to economic development for Milton, and, for example, filling some of the vacant buildings in town?
Sure. I like council's work and would like to see them continue to work on incentivizing the vacant commercial landlords and make those spaces available in the Safeway complex as well as the Albertsons complex. And then also, I think Highway 99 could take a fresh look. There are great properties down there and a lot of opportunity to have Milton continue some commercial interests and projects down there as well.
Just as a follow-up on that, one of the things that I hear a lot from people is we have all of this new residential development and one grocery store in the area.
Sure.
Is that something that's of concern, and how do you think the council can impact that at all?
You know, I'm not sure. I loved when Hagen's was there for that brief moment. It was wonderful.
It was.
And even Albertsons. And yeah, it's tough. Safeway and Albertsons are owned by the same parent corporation, so it would be tough. And I'm not sure the answer to get additional grocery store there. And I would love to see that. I just honestly don't know enough about the particulars of who owns the Albertson building exactly, if Safeway is still in control of it in any way. And again, from council's position and working with the chamber, is there a way to incentivize and encourage those landlords to get other businesses in there that's going to benefit the commercial sector of the town? We definitely need it. The hardware store, it's really rough to go into Federal Way to buy a box of screws or something like that, and there could be so many great businesses in both of those locations.
Well, we all know that traffic has gotten increasingly worse, and it's just going to get worse as more people move into the area. And you know, with that increasing traffic, do you have any ideas of alleviating it? Is there anything that you think the city council can do to help control some of those traffic issues?
Sure, most definitely. I think speed enforcement is really important. Developing truck routes, weight restrictions, so the trucks and the commuter traffic stays on the arterials. Speed bumps when appropriate, and then also in our design, if we continue the cul-de-sac design, it disincentivizes the cut-through driver to, and again, it will force them to stick on the arterials. If someone wants to come through Milton, that's fine, but you can't go 50 into 25. It's really unfair and unsafe.
Right. Well, just a quick little side note here. I see that we have Sandy Hockett watching, and she's asking, who is this? So you must have joined after we did our introductions here, but just wanted to let you know, Sandy, that we are at the 5 Milton Edgewood Chamber of Commerce. My name is Lora Butterfield. I'm the president and CEO of the chamber, and we have Elizabeth Thompson, who's an attorney and on the chamber board, and we are interviewing Phil Linden, who's running for Milton City Council. So that's just a quick little update there, and we'll move on to the next question.
So we know that the GMA has a lot to do with how growth and development happen in communities, including in Milton. And I'm wondering how you feel with this particular community, how that impacts the council, what they can do, and the growth for this particular city.
I think it's important to analyze existing development control ordinances and strengthen when appropriate, such as the conditional use permits, and developing criteria that won't adversely affect the town and our neighbors. I think there's really 3 types of areas in Milton. There's industrial, residential, and commercial. The 3 of them shouldn't adversely affect each other. They should all work together as seamlessly as possible. So Milton can do all 3 of those functions and function smoothly.
Okay, and as a city council member, what would your top agenda objective be? Do you have one, and what would that be?
Sure. I think if I was elected, I'd ensure that our spending and development priorities are in line with the people of the town. I think that's the role of a council member. So first and foremost, I'm going to represent the town. I'm going to ensure that the Milton City government is in line with the people and in accordance with the laws and limitations that a council can do.
And just a follow up to that is how do you think, what's your ideas of being in line with what the residents want?
I think listening and having open communication, as much as we can hear from each other and be in touch with, what residences, our businesses, and what all of those people need, and so council can effectively forward the town's agenda rather than their own agenda.
Which I think kind of leads us into our next question.
Yes, Phil, how do you see the city of Milton interfacing with the business community in general, and how do you see improvements in that interfacing?
I think it's important to be really aware of the unique needs of the business community and having good lines of communication, listening and assessment of what that business community needs. So working with the chamber, interviewing businesses, and just being open and available to our community.
Okay, so next question. Would you say that Milton is a business-friendly community? Is it a good place for people to do business?
I think so. I mean, there's been a solid trend of commercial growth, and I'd love to see that continue and do everything that I can to do that. As the area develops more, we can ensure that Milton and the area continue to have solid businesses that are appropriate for our town.
Okay.
So Phil, there are a couple of other people running for this position, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious as to if you were able to ask them a question, just one question, what would that question be?
I would think that, what are your steps that you're going to take to hear the concerns that the residents have regarding overdevelopment and traffic? I think, those are the things that the people of Milton are really that we're hearing the most about, and I want to make sure that the residents are being heard.
Are you hearing that from people that you're talking with as you're campaigning and
Yes.
going forward?
When I campaign, one of the things I do are, what are your concerns? I want to ensure that I'm their representative, and overwhelmingly, that's what our citizens are concerned about. They see the development that happens on Meridian, they're quite concerned and scared. They see everyone cutting through their town, they realize that degrades their quality of life. And so we want to make sure that those things are addressed and addressed promptly. And there isn't a ton of development that's left to happen in Milton, and we can ensure that we just stay on the path to do it right.
So one thing that has come up in some of our other interviews is the subject of apartments. I'm off topic a little bit here, but what is your view of apartments and in the city of Milton, and how do you think that can be controlled?
So I think that is a concern when a lot of the residents say overdevelopment. They are also saying apartments at the same time. And I think it's important, there are appropriate places for apartments in town, and there are places that are not appropriate for apartments. And we need to look at the code and the zoning and make sure that things are falling in line properly. For example, Alderidge, the senior apartments, low-income senior apartments, are a wonderful project. That is one of the greatest apartment complexes in town. It's appropriate, it's close to services and everything it needs like that. Or Surprise Lake Apartments, the Surprise Lake Village, that's it's wonderful. It would be a wonderful place to live in apartments. And as far as additional development, I think there are appropriate places that we can look for that's not going to overrun the town, but still going to provide housing for people that need it. There's a balance, and I think we can look at the code and look at the zoning and look at the maps and find the right place for them.
I've got a follow-up question on that. Of course, Milton is very close with Edgewood, proximity-wise, and there are a lot of apartments going up in Edgewood. What do you see that impact in terms of Milton? How is Milton having to deal with a little bit of that as well?
Oh, we're certainly connected and going to be impacted by those apartments, and that is a lot of people's concern. So it's going to be additional cut-through traffic, it's going to be potentially just more stress on our roads and our law enforcement, and so we have to work with our neighbors, work with Edgewood, and then also ensure that when we put our apartments up, that we're doing it appropriately, and that's going to also work well in our town, and we're going to be concerned with how it's going to affect our neighbors. And we're all connected. It's just a dotted line on a map between us. So we should look at the North Hill comprehensively. All of us recoil a bit from when we have to travel on the South Hill in Puyallup. Mm-hmm. And we don't want that for our town, and we can ensure that it doesn't look like that. And it's important to keep that vision in our minds, and first and foremost.
It made me think of something else, since we're on the subject. How do you think you could work with the city of Edgewood? What sort of ideas do you have of working together with them?
I think communication is the big thing, and getting a better idea of the direction that they're going as a town, and just look at it comprehensively. The same with Fife, the same with the 167 corridor that's coming in. We have to look at our little area of how it's going to work well together. Everything from the new bike trail that's going to come in from Fife into Puyallup, into Tacoma, how Fife is putting in where they're going to put in apartments, where they're going to put in additional warehouses, and just look at it and what's going to be appropriate and what is going to make for a good town and a good region, because that's the tide that's going to raise all of our boats. And whether it be our good schools and home values, and also just general quality of life. And as a nurse, I understand that. That's really the most important thing. You want to come home from work and you want to have a good place to be.
Right. Well, thank you so much. We want to thank you for joining us today, and I want to give you one last opportunity to share any thoughts that you might have, anything that we didn't talk about that you'd like to bring up, any closing remarks. So now's your chance.
Yeah. All right. Well, I just would like to thank both of you for interviewing me and giving us a chance, and all the people watching on Facebook. I really appreciate you watching this, and thank you. And Phil Linden for position number 6. Let's vote for a better Milton. Thank you so much.
All right, well, thank you. Thanks again. And I want to remind everyone that voting day is August 6th. And our ballots will be mailed out this week, I believe. So be watching your mail for the ballots, and make sure that you send them in. And we thank you again for all of you who have joined us through Facebook. And I would encourage all of you to watch these videos, make a post, like them, and share them. The more it gets shared, the more people will be able to see the candidates and what they stand for, and see who we're voting for. I think it's really important for us to know the candidates. There are a lot of people that are on the ballot, and it's going to be important to make sure that we get that we have education of who the candidates are. Elizabeth, did you have any final thoughts or words that you'd like to add?
I absolutely agree with you. I think, we talk about our communities and the development we want or don't want, and it's in our hands. It's who we elect. It's the people that we put in those important positions, and we need to know who they are, and this is a wonderful opportunity to get to know them a little better. So I'm hoping everybody gets out there and gets their vote in.
Okay. I saw we had a question there, but it's gone now. But anyway, thank you all again for watching, and we will see you again. I think that we're done with the primary candidates. So once the primaries are over, we'll be interviewing candidates for the general ballot. So stay tuned for that, and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.